They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everyone? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. So I guess I have to talk about LaMelo Ball. This guy has been the talk of the NBA for the past couple weeks, really the whole season. He is putting together a really strong rookie campaign, especially since, recently being moved into the starting lineup due to, some injuries to Terry Rozier, and he was able to get in there, and looks like he's not giving his spot up, because ever since he's been put in there, he's been playing awesome. He's had, like 20-point games. I think he had a 30-point game, putting up triple-doubles and, close to triple-double type numbers. And the team is, they're okay. They're about average. I believe they're 12-14 right now. They're kind of up and down for most of the year, but they're in the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. So the Hornets are, they're fighting there, and LaMelo Ball's playing well. And so I guess we just kind of got to talk about him because he's been really, like I said, the talk of the NBA over the past couple of weeks. And he's having a really strong start to his rookie campaign and looking like he's probably going to be the rookie of the year if he can keep this up. I mean, there's not much to say about his game that hasn't already been said. He's just been really impressive in really every area that you would ask him to be. The shot looks good. That was a question coming into the draft, right? Whether or not he was going to be able to shoot the three consistently. He had kind of a weird form, and he wasn't super consistent with it over in Australia last year. But let's see here. He is shooting currently 35.9% from three, which is, perfectly acceptable, especially for, like I said, all the questions that people had about his shot coming into the draft. Coming in right to be able to shoot, that's around league average, maybe a little above league average, I think. And that's that's perfect. That's totally fine. Hopefully it gets better as his career goes along, because you can never be too good at the 3-point shot, right? But that's been something that's been nice. Defensively, he's been there. He has good size and good good wingspan, and he has good ability to be able to defend. The question was the effort, the effort on that side of the ball, and whether or not he was really going to be locked in and trying to be a good defender. And so far, he's competed. He's competed on that end. Looks like he's trying to be a good defender, which is really all you can ask for out of a rookie, right? And all the other stuff, right? He has good rebounding numbers. Obviously, the playmaking is there. That was his one big strength coming out of coming to the draft there, and all through high school and everything. He has been an awesome playmaker for pretty much the entirety of however long we've known about LaMelo, which has been a while for this point. But he's been an awesome playmaker so far. He makes some of these passes that are like, wow, that's Chris Paul level. That's on par with a lot of the great playmakers of recent history and going back farther in the past. He's going to be up there, I think, especially if he can put all the rest of the the package of his game together. That passing is really going to show itself to be in that upper tier of the league, and that's really where his strength is going to lie. The scoring, right now he's averaging 14.3 points per game. Like I said, at the start he kind of struggled. The start of the year he had a couple of games where he wasn't scoring efficiently, wasn't really scoring at all. But it has really come on strong. He had like a 30-point game, had a couple of 20-pointers, and so he's been up there, and averaging around 14 is great. I think that number is going to continue to tick up, as he's starting to get more minutes now that he's a starter and starting to, get more comfortable in the NBA and finding his shot there. I think that those scoring numbers are going to continue to tick up. So him sitting at 14 right now is perfect for how his season has gone so far. I'm expecting pretty much all of his statistics to continue to climb upward. You would hope that the shooting numbers don't crash at some point. That would be the only worry, just because we haven't really seen him shoot this consistently to this point. Now, I do think he has improved since his time overseas and in high school and all that, but you wonder if these numbers are sustainable for this season. Maybe they might go down a little bit, but you're hoping that those can stay up and continue to go up over the course of his career. And honestly, the most, important thing about this is probably that the Hornets are fun, dude. Like, they have been one of the most exciting teams to watch on League Pass every night. And a lot of that is because of LaMelo, because like I said, he's been kind of the media darling this season. Last year it was Zion, and we've had, switching between like Luka, Zion, Trae Young, lots of these young players coming into the league. Bleacher Report, ESPN, all these outlets kind of pick up their guy who they want to be hyping up throughout the course of the season. LaMelo it has been the guy this year, right? And I think that's honestly more than fair, considering how much hype there has been for him for a long time, right? We've known about him as long as we've known about Lonzo. like Lonzo was, in high school, and we saw all those Chino Hills games, and he was playing super well, and then went to UCLA, comes to the NBA for the Lakers. LaMelo was, just a teenager at that point. I mean, he still is, I guess, but he was even younger, like, 14, 15. He's been in the public eye and going overseas and all that stuff. We've known about him for a long time, and now he's finally over here in the NBA, and we can really watch him up close. And I think he's deserving of the media spotlight he's getting. A lot of people kind of get fed up with it, and I get it, right? They tend to talk about certain people a lot more than they do about others, and whether that's fair or not, who's to say. But I do think he's a guy who is fun to watch. The passing, like I said, is super exciting, and he's proving doubters wrong to this point. I think he's had just about as good of a start to his career as you would expect and as you would hope, and so I think he's only going to get better. And all the highlights and stuff, I get it can be annoying with the oversaturation and stuff, but I like seeing all this stuff. It's really entertaining, and it's good basketball. And the Hornets are playing at a good level too. They're a middling team. They're 12-14 right now, but I think they've been one of the most exciting watches in the NBA. And I guess if I can just talk about the Hornets as a whole for a second, I think I'm starting to grow on this team. I guess I should say the team is starting to grow on me more and more every day. This is an interesting one, because Charlotte, to me, last offseason was actually one of the more interesting teams in the league, because it felt like a complete blank slate. Like, this team felt like they were like, they could become really anything considering their position in the draft and how much cap space they had. And they didn't really have anyone on the roster that felt like they were like a staple that like needed to be there. It felt like everybody was kind of going to be, shuffled around, and I still think that's the case. They have some nice players, right? Like, if we take this back to last offseason, Terry Rozier's on the books for, around $20 million a season. He can still be a trade chip, especially if LaMelo continues to play this well. He can move into the starting lineup. They probably want to ship out one of those guards, whether that's Terry or Devontae, and Devontae's on an expiring contract, I believe, so that could be something there. Speaking of Devontae Graham, he was another guy who came on strong last year, but didn't necessarily feel like he had, locked down his spot in the future of the Hornets. You have a couple other young guys like PJ Washington, Miles Bridges, all like, they're all here, right? But it didn't feel like they were necessarily huge parts of the future of this team, because it just felt like it was a total blank slate. Really, anything could happen with them. And then the way that their offseason went, a lot of people were disappointed in the Hayward signing, which I get, because it felt like a little bit of an overpay, and they were kind of, taking away from minutes from some of these young guys here by signing Gordon Hayward. But seeing the way that they're playing basketball, I don't hate it as much as I did back then, just because they're a good team. Hayward's meshing well with what they're trying to do. He's putting up points and being a mentor for some of these young guys, which is, I think, what they needed. So we'll have to see where the Hornets go from this point, because I still do feel like it is sort of a blank slate of a franchise. Like, obviously LaMelo is the franchise guy. They're going to keep him around for as long as they possibly can. But they still have, I think, some moves to be made. Like I mentioned with the Devontae Terry Rozier thing, I don't think you can keep, all three of these guys around for the long term. So one of Rozier or Graham is probably the odd man out here. Considering Terry's making a little bit of money, maybe they can get something back for him, match a certain contract and bring something else in. Or if it's Devontae on his way out, he's making literally nothing, so you can maybe trade him for picks if you decide you don't want to pay him this offseason, because he's going to be a guy who might want a little bit more money than the Hornets are willing to go. So we'll just have to see on that front. But other than that, maybe Hayward gets moved at some point down the line. That contract is not too big to move. I think it's around $30 million a year, if I remember correctly. So it is doable to maybe trade the Hayward contract. I don't know if they will. Who knows how he looks as a player a couple of seasons from now. They'll have to decide what they want to do on extensions for guys like Miles Bridges and PJ Washington. So I'm invested in the future of the Hornets. I think this is going to be a really interesting case just to see, because they have a lot of young players and none of them are necessarily setting the world on fire. So what did they do here with some of the contracts they have in order to try to build a team around LaMelo? Because, like I said, it really doesn't feel like anybody on this team other than Ball has really nailed down their future with the Hornets franchise. And just to clarify, that's not to say that I don't like any of these young players, because I absolutely do. I think they have a really good young core. I kind of talked about Miles Bridges in my stock video from like a week or so ago. He is a guy that I really like still, and I hope that he sticks around. PJ Washington is another guy who I feel like makes a lot of sense as a long-term role player, glue guy, sort of guy there. I like Devontae. I think he fits better as a sixth man long term. I would hope that they maybe just move into the bench and don't break the bank on an extension for him. We'll have to see how that works out. So these young guys on this team I do like. They have some interesting young players here, but I just, like I said, I don't necessarily feel like they have all stapled their name to the Hornets franchise and like, this is our young core, this is our future. Other than LaMelo, I don't feel like anybody is really off the table if they are looking to make a move. But yeah, I think that's it. LaMelo has impressed me. I think he's the Rookie of the Year favorite. I picked him to win the award, and he's, pretty much showing why. Just felt like he would have the most opportunity out of pretty much all the rookies out there. Even after the Hayward thing, it still feels like he's going to be the guy who's getting the most touches. And it was a little worrisome early on because he was coming off the bench, wasn't getting as many minutes as a lot of people thought. But now that he's playing well and he's, really solidified his spot in the rotation as a starter, I think his numbers are going to continue to go up. He's competing with guys like Halliburton, who plays winning basketball but is not necessarily putting up eye-popping statistics. James Wiseman's been hurt, and I think, I like James Wiseman. Obviously, you guys know I'm a Warriors fan, but he is another guy who probably isn't going to get as much opportunity with the team just because of the other weapons that they have, obviously. Who else? Like Anthony Edwards is good, but he's on a really bad team, and he hasn't been super efficient so far. Obi Toppin was my other pick, and he hasn't been super great so far this season. So I think LaMelo is the clear front runner right now. If I had to make a top three, it would probably be him, then Halliburton, then Wiseman. But I think he's the clear front runner for the award. I think he's probably going to win it. But yeah, that's all I have on LaMelo Ball. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to, leave a comment letting me know what you think about LaMelo, his start to the season so far, the future of the Hornets as a whole. What do you think about the direction this team is going, and what are they going to what kind of moves are they going to make maybe at the deadline this year or in the offseason or whatever. But yeah, with all that out of the way, with all that said, I will see you guys in the next one.